So in this video, what I want to dive into is, again, I've been looking at a lot of like time management and energy management, just like sufficiency, sorry, not sufficiency, efficiency, productivity, all that stuff. Um, I'm looking to kind of wire in thought processes, feeling states, behaviors that are going to be really beneficial for my life moving forward. Um, and it's very interesting because what I'm doing a lot of right now is thinking in terms of the future. So I'm telling the story of my future. This is something that I've talked about previously. Um, I'm telling the story of my future. And what's so interesting about that is that there's a part of me that's conditioned by the old self that used to think in terms of telling the story of the past, right? And breaking myself out of that is it can be very challenging. Um, but every time, I catch myself and I stop myself in the moment and I remind myself, no, you're now telling the story of your future, right? Um, and it's not just a matter of like telling and like thinking and stuff. It's not just belief systems. A huge aspect of this is actually feeling states, right? And so therefore um, you're required to tune into the heart center. And I think that it's so interesting how this all works because it comes from a place of worth, it comes from a place of gratitude, and it's all about abundance. So it's not about focusing on the abundance that comes into your life or that what you're seeking in terms of abundance, but it's more so about focusing on the worth, the overall worth, and then also the gratitude, right? Like, when you receive something in life and you're grateful for it, you feel based on that, right? You feel based on the emotions of gratitude. So it's kind of like if you were to suggest that you're receiving something, right? There's a feeling of gratitude with that, especially when it's something that you really want. Um, but here, the interesting thing is that it's a whole different dynamic. It's not a matter of what it is that you really want, because you only get in life a reflection of of who you are being, of what and who you are being. Um, and so like it's not even a matter of what you want, because wanting actually implies lack. It implies that you don't have it. It implies that it's not natural for you. It implies that it's separate from you. And it's just very interesting to ground with these concepts because I have to consistently correct myself. Um, for a lot of people, they were kind of conditioned into you know belief systems of unworthiness, of insufficiency, all that stuff, and that blocks manifestations like crazy. Um, and I just think it is so interesting how challenging this is. But literally, as I'm saying this stuff, I'm thinking about things that I want to say. I'm thinking about things that kind of like would entail like, okay, this is how things used to be, but no, that would be telling the story of the past. And I'm trying to not I'm trying to there we go. I'm breaking myself out of the habit of you know just telling the story of the past and past stuff. It's so interesting. Um, and then of course consciously like catching myself, okay, there's that low energy state of thinking and feeling. What can I wire in instead of that? So I have to catch myself in the moment when that stuff comes up, like when it comes in, and then just change the story. Like, no, I am somebody who feels great. And why do I feel great? Oh, I feel great because I do great things. I spend time with great people. This is in general, of course, but the interesting thing here is that the more specific in detail you get, and this is what I've noticed, the more not only like you feel it manifesting, but the more worthy you feel. Now, let me just make this very clear. This whole thing of worthiness is interesting. And the reason why it's so interesting to me is because a lot of people have been fed belief systems that are just not accurate to who they are. And these are also belief systems that came from other people. I've talked about the idea of not only what you're used to will use you, but also the handing off. and the taking of the baton. You know, the baton is really just a metaphor for these belief systems that, you know, parents kind of just pass down to their children. And, you know, they were how they saw themselves, you know, like low self esteem, all that stuff, lack of self worth, just all these belief systems that are not beneficial, that are not productive. And they never have anything to do, like, even the parents that are giving this stuff to the children, it's not the parents' stuff either. And it's not the parents of the parents' stuff either. Like everyone's just carrying around shit that's not theirs, and I just think that's so funny. So when you can kind of like let that stuff go and like see everything and understand, like, oh wow, okay, yeah, that's not mine. So I was never actually unworthy, so I was just carrying around unnecessary weight that I never needed to. But that also fucked up my manifestations because, you know, it's like, okay, well, if you don't see yourself as worthy, right, the universe is going to look at you and be like, okay. And then it's going to continue to give you more experiences to try to wake you up and realize, like, oh, actually, I am worthy. And none of that stuff was ever mine. I've been worthy this whole time. Never mind. And then the universe, you know, kind of does the, you see it now. And it's like, okay, now the next thing. And, yeah, it's like the universe is constantly testing. And never with the intention to have us fail, but it's like, okay, so I'll try again. I'll try again next week. I'll try again next week. I'll try again, you know, the week after, the week, like the month, next year. I don't know. Like, it's like, it's always there. That element is always there. And the more that it is responded to from a space of awareness, specifically, you know, self-awareness, like when you recognize, like, oh, okay, yeah, I actually am really fucking worthy of really beautiful things. I just have a broken record on repeat in here, you know, from shit that, you know, my father and my mother said when I was growing up. But that was not that was it was their shit because they decided to unconsciously carry it around, but that wasn't even their stuff. That was their parent, or maybe it wasn't even their parents' stuff. It's so interesting. I'm talking a lot with my partner about all this stuff, and it's just it's so interesting. It's so interesting. There's a very interesting journey ahead, I can tell. So, yeah. But just continuing to catch myself presently, stopping the thoughts, and wiring in new thoughts, new feeling states, new behaviors. Just catching myself. No, that's the old self. Nope, that's the old self. Nope, that's the old self. That's the only way that change really happens. And the cool thing about this is that when you bring this energy into every single situation in life, I mean, yeah, it can be exhausting because you're consistently stopping yourself, right? And it's like, oh, just let me go already. It's like, no, like you're gonna keep living the same way if I don't stop you. So you need to be stopped because you need to be made aware that no, we're not going to go that way anymore. We're going to go this way instead. Like, it's very interesting. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and it's just so interesting. It's just the passing of the baton. Yep, here's my shit, and now it's yours. Oh wait, nope, not mine. It's cool.